Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel and thank you for watching my first video. As many of you know, recently the $2,000 stimulus checks passed the US House of Representatives. And one of the common things that I saw in all of the different stimulus check videos on YouTube was that folks were saying, and they're broadcasting live, and they're saying, oh, well, the bill passed and it took 2/3 of the House. But what was really interesting was a lot of people were also asking, why 2/3? And the funny thing is, a lot of those YouTubers did not answer that question at all. And so my first video is to explain to you all from a procedural standpoint why 2/3 was needed to pass the stimulus check bill that just got through. So just a little history of the House. The House, much like a lot of different legislative bodies, is modeled after the House of Commons in the United Kingdom. And one of the ways that it does its business is it uses rules. I'm sure you all know what rules are, but what does this have to do with the House passing the bill with a 2/3 majority? Well, simply put, the House has rules. And if the rules aren't followed, a bill cannot be passed. And a lot of times, the easiest way to do this is simply to suspend all of the rules. That means all of the rules that apply to a piece of legislation, we're going to suspend all of them, we're going to stop enforcing them, but we can only do so with a 2/3 threshold. And so when you look at the bill that passed, the $2,000 bill that passed the US House of Representatives, it needs to pass with a 2/3 majority because the rules were suspended. That means no rule applied to that piece of legislation that went through. Instead, they suspended them and then they just voted to get that bill through. So now you might be asking, what are some rules that are required for a piece of legislation? Well, simply put, a lot of pieces of legislation that go through the House of Representatives have to go through a rules process. That means a rule has to be passed that dictates when the bill is put on the floor, how much time during debate there is, how many amendments can be put on that bill, right? There's different things like there's open rules, there's closed rules. There's so many different things that go into the process of putting a bill onto the House floor. The simplest way to just get something passed in the House is something called unanimous consent, something that I'll go through in another video of mine. But the second easiest, because unanimous consent can just be derailed by any member of Congress, as you saw on Christmas Day when Democrats tried to amend the bill, the omnibus bill, to have 2/3 of to have $2,000. This suspension of a rule is the second easiest thing to do to pass something within the House of Representatives. And so that's why it took 2/3 rather than a simple majority to pass that bill. So I hope this helps, and I hope that this demystifies and clarifies some of the things that were going on with a lot of the stimulus check videos. Because I can't tell you guys how many stimulus check videos that I saw with CPAs, with people who are great in real estate, with people who are so smart in finance that just could not answer the question for why it took 2/3 of the votes to pass the bill rather than a simple majority.